For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Moved by Tony, seconded by Creighton. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. We'll need an approval of the consent agenda, including the following. Approval of City Council meeting minutes of January 29th. That was a workshop. February 2nd workshop, and February 2nd regular meeting. Approval of the bills and claims. Appointment of Mark Fisher and Andrea Evelsizer to the Park and Recreation Advisory Board for the term ending June 30th, 2028. Appointment of Bryce Furman and Mike Sonderman to the Board of Adjustment with a term ending December 31st, 2030. Approval of Fire Department EMS holiday pay policy. Approval of spring large item drop-off, April 23rd, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., April 24th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and April 25th, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Public Works Site, 1419 2nd Avenue South, and curbside appliance-only pickup for April 21st. Set March 2nd, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. is the date and time for a public hearing on a proposed fiscal year 26 budget amendment. Set proposed fiscal year 27 tax rate levy and establish April 6, 2026 at 5 p.m. as the special meeting for budget levy hearing. Approval of updated Axon Tasar contract for Police Department Taser replacement. And item J, finally, the licenses and permits. Liquor license, Class C retail alcohol license, the Surf Galley. Class C retail alcohol license, Ellie's. Class E retail alcohol license, Casey's, number 1,427. Those are all renewals. And tree trimmers license, Clapper Tree Service. Council, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Bennett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now is the citizens' opportunity to address the council on items not on the agenda. In conformance with the rules of procedures and Iowa open meetings laws, no action or discussion can occur on items presenting during the citizens forum. Please walk to the lectern, state your name first and last, address so the clerk can enter it in the minutes, and please keep your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. None appearing. We'll move on to unfinished business, which we have none. New business. City Council vacancy, City Council Ward 1 seat, review by myself. So as was decided in our January meeting, Council wanted to appoint that vacancy. We did collect applications, 2 of which, one from Bryce Furman and Deb Tezar for the position. And after much discussion, consensus of the council was to appoint Deb Tezar. And council, do you have any discussion on the matter?
Yes, Mayor, I just would like to thank both candidates for applying for the position and want to congratulate Deb Tezar on selecting her. So I think she'll be a terrific member of this council. But again, want to thank both candidates for their application and consideration.
I would echo those comments. We were fortunate to have 2 very qualified candidates, which sometimes Ward 1 is doesn't always have that. So at this time, I will need a motion to approve Resolution 26-03, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, appointing a successor to fill the vacancy in the office of Ward 1 council member.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Bennett. Roll call. Creighton.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Beth Ann.
Yes.
And Tony.
Yes.
Motion carries. So now I'll invite Deb Tezar up to administer the oath. discharge all the duties of the office
discharge all the duties of the office
of Ward 1 City Council Member in the City of Clear Lake, Iowa,
of Ward 1 City Council Member in Ward 1 of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Can we have a seat up here? Welcome, Deb. Looking forward to working with you. All right. Moving on, item 6B, fiscal year 2025 municipal audit report. Introduction, Jacob Woodman, Director of Finance and Administrative Services.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Welcome, Board Deb. Just this year, we had Bonsick and Frommelt complete our fiscal year 25 audit again. They've been doing the audit for a number of years for the city here, over 10 years. They've done a very good job for us. If you recall, at just about a year ago, we sent out RFPs because their contract had expired, and we selected them once again to do our audit. They have provided great service for us, and so we entered into a 5-year contract. So this fiscal year 25 audit is the first year of the 5-year contract with them. Audit went very good again this year. Sarah will kind of get into the details of the audit, but we had another good report this year, which was great to hear from them. And I just appreciate all their work that they do on the audit and just working together with them on the audit. And I'll let Sarah go through the audit for you. And you guys have all been provided with a copy of the report. So unless you have any further questions for me, I'll let Sarah jump in and go through it.
Thanks, Jacob. Sarah, you are on.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to present your June 30th, 2025 financial and compliance report. I'm going to talk mainly from the handout, but if you have any questions on the bound financial and compliance report, I'm happy to address those too. I'll start off on page 2 of the handout. We really think of this as kind of the report card of the audit. When we come out to do the audit of the City of Clear Lake, sometimes we do 3 different types of audits. This year you were only required 2, the financial statement audit. We issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statement audit. You may have noted that there was an emphasis of a matter paragraph within that opinion, and that is because the city was required to adopt GASB 101, which changed the way that you account for compensated absences. And primarily the difference was the fact that you do now accrue a liability for sick leave. If you wanted to look at kind of the effect of that on your beginning fund balances, there's a footnote on page 54 that explains the differences. The next type of audit that we do is the government auditing standard audit, and with this audit we look at your internal control structure, we document it, and then we also test it to make sure that it's functioning as it was designed. And then we also look at compliance with laws, regulations, grants, etc. And the city had no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no significant findings in regards to compliance. So that's a very clean report. And for the federal single audit, you have to expend over $750,000 of federal revenue. So this year, the city was not required to complete that type of audit. Okay, the next page is looking at the total revenue of the city. In 2025, the city had $23,890,000. In 2024, it was $20,466,000, so it was about a $3.4 million increase. As you look across the bars, you can see that the majority of that is sitting in change in grants and contributions. That increase is due to the Destination Iowa Creative Placemaking Grant. That was for $4.3 million this year. And it was offset by grants in the prior year. You had $1 million STBG swap funds and a $601,000 Destination Iowa grant in the prior year. The city's property tax increased about 6%, and that was primarily due to your taxable assessed value increase from $804 million to $877 million. And then the primary reason for the increase in the other is due to your interest that was earned on investments this year. The next page looks at your expenditures. And in 2025, you had about $15.9 million, and in 2024, you had about $15.7 million. So the total change in governmental expenses was $229,000, and that increase was primarily in the culture and rec for your Lakeview room and the band shell renovation, and it was offset by decreases in public safety and public works, which was because of projects that they had last year that they did not have in the current year. There's also a line there for your business type activities. Your total revenue increased $141,000 from $2,270,000 to 2024, which was $2,411,000, and that increase was primarily in charges for services. Your total operating expenses for your business type activities increased from $2.8 million to about $2.9 million. And the good news is that all of the business type activities generated positive cash flows from operations in the current year. And then the last page looks at the general fund unassigned fund balance. And this year, the unassigned balance is $10,065,000. It increased about $1.2 million from the previous year, and that's primarily due to a transfer from TIF funds to pay for the Buddy Holly Alley improvements, the Emerald Edge infrastructure costs, and the Surf District development costs, and East Main reconstruction expenses. The 2025 fund balance represents, about 314 days of operating expenditures, and it's up from the previous year, which was about 247 days. So, which is a really healthy general fund balance at this time. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions? I do have a dumb question. What's considered internal control?
An internal control is kind of like your checks and balances. So it makes sure that no one person is doing a transaction from the inception to the completion of that transaction, so that there's different eyes and checks and balances in place. Okay,
that's kind of what I thought. So Jacob can't just say no to everything.
Here, I don't have a direct question, but could you redefine the unmodified opinion? Because sometimes when we have people that say that doesn't sound good, just can you clarify that?
Yeah. An unmodified opinion is the highest form of opinion that you can receive. So that's the golden opinion, if you will.
Thank you.
Sarah, a quick question for you. How would you characterize the overall state of our finances? You know, we appreciate you doing the audit over the years, and just perhaps you could add some color for the public in terms of the management of our budget and how you would characterize our finances.
Yeah, and I really think the last page of the graph I went through that was talking about the general fund balance, being in such a strong position, and the city, excuse me, the city also, their funds are operated within the constraints of their funds as far as the budget. So I've always felt that the city is in a very good financial position.
Excellent. That's good to hear, because I think that's the thing we aim for, and it's just, I appreciate you being able to communicate that. Appreciate also Jacob Widman and the job he does with it and the rest of our staff. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Council, anyone else? All right, thank you, Sarah. Appreciate the work you've done, and at this point, I will need a motion to approve and accept the FY25 audit report.
So move.
Second.
Tony, seconded by Bennett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Item C, dedication of plat, Emerald Cove subdivision. Review, Matt Stedding, city engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Deb, congratulations. I'll give you an easy one here tonight to start off with. So it's been roughly a year ago today that we approved the dedication and plat for the Emerald Cove subdivision. So when the final plat came through, we approved that with a lot of the standalone easements, such as the temporary turnaround, sanitary sewer, drainage easements, public utility easements, storm sewer easements, etc. Those were attached to the final plat when that got recorded. The developer's legal attorney was on maternity leave at the time that got recorded, and when that occurred, they requested that those easements and exhibits be removed from the final plat and recorded as standalone documents, which is what typically happens. So she realized that got recorded as such. They removed them, re-recorded them, but that never went through the formal approval. Nothing has changed at all. It's just basically creating a paper trail to prove that the council supported and signed off and approved on those standalone easement documents. So that's what this is here tonight. So simple as that. If you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
Council, questions? All right, thanks, Matt.
Yep.
All right, therefore, we'll need a motion to approve resolution number 2604, a resolution confirming acceptance of easements and declarations of covenants, conditions, and restrictions in connection with the final plat of Emerald Cove First subdivision. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Beth Ann. Roll call. Bennett.
Yes.
Beth Ann.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on, item D, spring long line center line painting, review by Jeremy Kornberg, Public Works Director.
Yeah, there's a bid summary there for you for our long line center line painting that we do every spring. We requested bids from 3 different contractors. There's not a whole lot in the state of Iowa that actually do this. Vogel Traffic Services out of Orange City, Quality Striping Inc. out of Des Moines, and Iowa Plains Signing. Vogel Traffic Services. I guess, step back, we bid it out as kind of our top end, right? So what our max would hopefully be doing the entire town. So our estimates are 240 gallons of yellow, 225 gallons of white, and so that's how we set up our estimate as a per gallon rate. So typically we always come in under that. We only pay for the gallons used, not based off of the estimate. So the bids came in at, from Vogel Traffic Services was $39.86 a gallon for both yellow and white. Quality Striping out of Des Moines did not respond to any of our communications. And Iowa Plains Signing came in at $50 per gallon for yellow and white. We've used Vogel Traffic Services in the past. They've done quality work. So my opinion would be to accept their bid at the $39.86 per gallon. Our hope would be that this spring we wouldn't have to do absolutely everything. Last spring we did everything in town because I think it was 2 years ago we cut back quite a bit because when we went out for bids we only got one response and it was at like $50-some a gallon. So we cut back and we did only the absolutely necessary things 2 springs ago. So with the light winter we've had so far, hopefully some of that paint held up and we'll be able to, some of our rural long lines will be in decent shape and we won't have to do them. So I would expect that we'll come in quite a bit under that 18,000. So that 18,000 is under what we had budgeted for that item anyways. So any questions on it?
That's all encompassing, that's not any additional fees, so that includes like the traffic control, mobilization, and labor?
Yep, that's it. They bid it up purely per gallon. We actually, one of our mechanics or one of our guys rides with them to kind of take them around town, but that's it. So they have a painting car and then they have a traffic control car that follows around at a certain distance behind them to try to keep the drivers at bay as best as they can. Obviously it's not foolproof, but it does a decent job, so. Thanks. All right. Any other questions?
Council? No.
Okay, thank you.
Jeremy? All right, so we'll need a motion to approve the quote from Vogel Traffic Services for spring long line center painting. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Deb, second by Tony. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on, item E, fiscal year 27 federal community project funding grant application. Steve Deers, city administrator.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. Congratulations, Deb, welcome. Tonight, yes, on the agenda we have the fiscal year 27 federal community project funding grant application. This is a grant that's put forth by Ashley Hinson's office and can be designated for any number of city projects that qualify. And as we discussed at workshop this last week, we were talking a lot about housing and opening up roadways and whatnot. So as it so happens that following Wednesday last week, we got notice from Ashley Hinson's office that they're opening up this grant cycle for the next year. And so what we would like to do is put a application in, which is due February 27th. They give us almost a full 2 weeks to do it. But with that, we need a letter of intent from the council to make application. And so within there, I've put a drafted letter of intent. And this would be to fund the installation of a roadway through the Hidden Acres area. Our rough estimates for doing that project are somewhere north of $5.5 million, maybe as high as $6 million. So we're kind of estimating a $6 million project to do. That would do the entire road all the way through, infrastructure, water, sewer, storm sewer to go with it. And so we would propose making an application for that $6 million to do the full project. We should hear back within the next month or two as far as if our project's going to be moving forward in the application process. At that time, I guess we'll have an idea from Hinson's office on the level of funding that they would be approving that at. It might not be the full 6, it might be a portion thereof, so we'd have to kind of look and see, maybe we don't do the full project, maybe we do parts of it, kind of see how that plays out going forward. Ultimately, we should know this fall, once appropriations makes it through all the way through, and we have an idea of what's getting funded. But I know just it was 2 weeks ago, I think Chad just found out that their $3 million that they applied for a few years ago just got approved. So barring any governmental shutdowns, you don't know how that's going to come through. But basically, that's what we're looking to try and turn around here is an application here by the end of February to get our hat in the ring for some funding to help fund that road project. So happy to take any questions you guys may have.
Council, any questions? Yeah, this is something that is very much in its infancy, what we're talking about. This would be west of One Vision, property that they own, potential of housing long-term, but again, very much in its infancy, and see where it goes.
Right, and this application would, it's for the road and for the infrastructure to provide for for a housing development. How that actually develops out over the long term remains to be seen how we do that. I mean, it's gonna take a while probably to fill that entire area up. But this would allow us to have access to that area. And the nice thing about having the whole thing done at once, if we could do that, is then that answers any question about, you know, too many housing units per area without having dual areas of ingress, egress. So that would be a nice piece.
Yeah.
But again, if we can't do the full thing, we'd look to, probably piece that together in whatever way makes sense.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would echo the mayor's comments. I think as far as this housing project, it's an attractive opportunity for a variety of housing types. And so I guess my question for you, Steve, would be, would it make sense to ask for the entire amount?
I guess my opinion is let's ask for the entire amount. I mean, the only thing they can come back and say, well, we're only going to give you a portion of that, but if we don't ask for it, we're not going to get anything more than that. So it seemed to make sense to ask for the full amount. And
Yeah, okay, because I know on the 4th Avenue project, we had this discussion, obviously, and asked the full 100% on that. And I think I would support asking for the full amount if you don't see any downsides to that or any strings that would somehow be unforeseen with that.
This grant does not require a local match, but it's suggested that you might want to offer one. So
Okay, so what were you thinking on that?
So that's where I was thinking, somewhere in the realm of 20% local match, right? So if we get a $6 million award, that would be $1.2 million to us, and that would buy a lot of road and infrastructure for $1.2 million.
And by having that local match, that increases our chances of getting the grant, correct?
It certainly does.
That's, in other words, that's why we would do that in this case.
Right, and it's to be determined where, how we fund that local match too, right? So, I mean, as we meet with developers and look at growing that area, that would be something that we would be talking to them about, their share in the project, and how would that be, come together moving forward. So, yeah, it certainly helps strengthen your application when you can put some skin in the game.
Sounds like a good opportunity for us. So, thank you, Steve.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yep.
Steve, if for some reason that this particular project flops, fails, doesn't start, whatever have you, do we have a contingent project that may fill the shoes of these funds? Or do we have something that we can put as a secondary option along with this so that we don't get eliminated, if you will?
You can't have a contingency plan necessarily. You can apply for multiple projects, and they ask you to prioritize those. And really, initially, when I first reached out to them, it was in regard to the 4th Avenue project, because I was saying, hey, can we get your support on our build grant application? Oh, by the way, maybe this is something, when this came out, it's like, ooh, this might be a better fit for, the Hidden Acres area, and the 4th Avenue we continue on with the build application. So I don't think you could have a backup plan. I think you just, you'd have if they fund a small part of it, you right size it to whatever the funding you're getting, but I don't know that you could have an offsetting plan like another part of town that you're gonna do something necessarily.
Okay. Thank you.
We are kind of going through that discovery process, so I mean, that'll be a question I asked. I have asked if you could apply for multiple things, and they said yes, but you're gonna wanna prioritize them. Because she gets to award 15 total projects, and so for her entire district, so the chances of a community getting 2 in 1 year are probably limited. Although I have seen repeated communities get awards several years in a row for various projects, so. In theory, we could get part of it, maybe get another part, so who knows? First things first.
All right, council, any other questions, comments?
Apologize for the short time delaying it's with anything. They announced it last week and say it's due in 2 weeks. So to get a letter of intent from the council, you had to throw it on here tonight, and so I appreciate you guys considering it. Thank you.
I'll need a motion to approve letter of intent for the FY27 Federal Community Project Grant Fund. Motion, please.
So move.
Moved by Tony, seconded by Creighton. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item F, street closure request, Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce events. Review, Chief Colby.
Hey, Mayor and Council, I do applaud you all on coordinating your colors tonight too in the navy blue, by the way. Whoever planned that. This year we're looked at some of our major events that are sponsored by the chamber and approving that the process for these events a little bit differently. We've had some discussion over past years. We wanted to get all the events in front of you earlier in the year, just for planning purposes for the chamber and then also for the police department to be able to get that done earlier. At times we used to get the permits in front of the council up, as short as like 4 weeks for the event, and if there was a hiccup in the approval process or something, it could make it detrimental to the people who plan these special events. So if they know they have approval 6-7 months in advance, they can plan through and make the necessary plans for that. So in front of you, you have the city applications from the chamber and accompanying documents and maps for the Earth Day 5K, Thursdays on Main, 4th of July, Harvest Festival, and Christmas by the Lake. I won't go through each and every single one of them in a great detail, but the only changes I'll really note from the past 2 years on these events is number one, the date change for the Clear Lake from May to August. And then the map for Thursdays on Main has a little bit of a footprint there that would include a little short section on First Avenue North from North 3rd Street to a half block to the east to basically the entrance to Clear Lake Bank and Trust and the Ward Vans Lake funeral home there, which will then allow the 173 distillery to have some access there, street closure there as well. Other than that, the other events are for the most part the exact same map and closures we've had the past at least 2 years, if not 3. We've really worked to hone these maps and our special events we have every single year. So we just have one footprint, and there is no change unless there's an infrastructure or a need change by the chamber or the participants in the special events there too. So there's a couple of notes on those applications that I submitted with you. Just the first one there for, I guess I don't know what order you guys have there. The Earth Day 5K. There was just a note. On the Thursdays on Main. Note request for the closure on 3rd. And First Ave North there, which is circled on the map. And then there's some time changes. It's got my handwriting on it there, which shows the street closures. So some of the events had some of the applications had the event start times, and we're putting the closure times there for the roads there. So we'll typically close the roads after 2 in the morning before 5, just so it's easier to close the road in the middle of the night when there's not people parked up there and having to get hold of people and move cars and go through there. So without going through every single one, is there any questions that I could answer for any of you on those events submitted there? Any discussions on the changes from previous years?
Thursdays on Main was 4:30 last year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
We typically have last year we started either assigning an officer or CSO or spend a little bit of money on overtime to just have an officer go up there and help facilitate closing that road down and signs up and contacting the vehicles that are parked there, trying to really minimize the impact on the main street there during a business day for an event to start. But it's been cost beneficial for us to have somebody sign up there when we can, scheduling wise, to go through and help them get vehicles moved and contact those owners. I think it's been pretty well received by the businesses up there that we can not close the storefronts until a little bit later. Then they see the benefit of
My next question.
all the pedestrian traffic in front there, starting around 5 o'clock. So once it's actually closed.
Chief, as far as the closure on this one to allow the distillery that area in front, First Avenue North, that's a change, right?
It's a change from previous years, yes.
Right, I know we did a special event there, I think, last year or the year before, where we closed it.
They had a pickleball tournament, that was out front.
That
Yep.
was it. I guess just a quick question for you. I mean, as far as traffic flow, do you have any concerns with closing that off?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things that went through the discussion that, we've talked to Trish with the chamber, and she might be able to add to this a little bit more, but, led me to sign and suggest the approval. Number one was that, I think there's a verbal agreement between, the chamber and the distillery, and also war events, like if they have a funeral or something going on that night, that we would, tentatively not close, that road there, so they could have parking and, be able to get, people that would be attending the services there in and out easier, and so.
Yeah,
there is
that was my concern, frankly, and I know that was an issue that was discussed in the past, so I
Trish
just
can
want,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the discussion that has been had.
Yeah. and I just want
Agreed
the
on that.
public to know that, because I think that's an important thing here, but I understand the desire to allow them to participate more fully in the.
Yeah, and
thing,
keep in
so-
mind, our stance on it, the police department or mine has always been, we won't increase closures that the council doesn't approve, but we can always decrease it. I haven't ever seen a problem with it. The council says close 200 feet, we only have to close 100, less impact, so we've always we've been able to shrink footprints down, but we've never gone and increased footprints that hasn't been approved by the council. That we've drawn a pretty tight line on that over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And then if it's just a parking issue, we just handle it internally, don't go to the council for approval. But when it involves a road closure, we won't ever expand those footprints unless it's an emergency type situation. But there's many times that we've shrunk it down and not had to have as big of an impact. That was-
Sounds good. Thank you, Chief.
All right, council, anything else? All right, thanks. So I will need a motion to street closure request for Earth Day, 5K, 10K, Thursdays on Main, 4th of July, Tri-Clear Lake, Harvest Festival, and Christmas by the Lake. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Beth Ann, second by Creighton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Chief of Police report.
Still here. I am remiss by not giving Jennifer, the city clerk, some props on putting the package together there too. So I know she and I and Trish and Captain Hines all met and went through those maps. We made some changes on the city site, kicked them back to the chamber. They made some changes. You're looking at probably a third rendition maybe from the maps that we went through to really kind of hone that there too. So I do want to thank Jennifer for being the organizer of all of those documents there. All right, Chief of Police report. We are currently working through the Ventura 28E renewal, so that does expire June 30th. Internally, the city administration and myself have been working through that. Ventura is also, so hopefully sometime very soon we'll have a draft 28E with some numbers there for the council to look at. I know Ventura does want to extend that agreement for 3 years and keep going with the shared services and us providing the services to them. They've been happy with it too, and I think on the city side, it's worked out very well for us too. So hopefully you'll see that in the next couple of council meetings, renewal, and that would then start for fiscal year 27, 28, and 29. So that would go. The only difference is past 28Es have been extensions of the original one in 2009, and we're just gonna let that expire and rewrite it instead of having to go back to previous one and the extension of this one, extension of that one. It'll just be a clean slate and start over too. So we're working through that internally. And then this Thursday, the 19th, we'll have our first 2026 department-wide meeting and training held in the chamber here. We're going to do it from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We'll be in here for first 2 hours. We'll split up. The police department's going to go to a different location. We're using the Public Works building after their hours so you can be inside and work on some low-light stuff and have it in a bigger space. So I think the Public Works giving us the ability to use that. And then the dispatchers are going through to have a meeting here. They're going to do some practical applications with this Gen 911 program that we purchased last year. It's basically an AI created scenarios where they can have a AI caller call and say there was a robbery at this location, and actually uses real locations in Clear Lake, and you're talking to AI and it sounds like a person who's frantic. So we're going to go through some of those situations to get them some as close to real life training as we can, and then use the new tools of like our EMD program that we just purchased last year, to be able to use that in some situations they would not have seen in person, using it in the center too. So we're going to use some of our new tools and do some training with the entire department this Thursday. So, plus some legal updates and some other stuff coming to everybody as well. So, that's all I have for you. You'll see pictures and information on that in the monthly report next month. Any questions?
That's from 3 to 7?
3 to 7.
3 to 7.
We'll split it. We'll do dinner and split at 5. So we'll be here for 2 hours. Then dispatch will be here for another hour after that.
All right, great. Council, questions? All right. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Works. Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. While it's been 50-some degrees out and it feels like spring, it's not really spring, but we did get a chance to get our sweepers out today and start just some general cleanup. While it's been a mild winter, we have had to use a lot of sand and salt with the events that we have had, so we took the opportunity to have the nice weather start cleaning a little bit of that up, try to keep it out of our storm system. So bear with us as that gets going. It does create a mess as we go through the first couple times. It almost looks like we're making more of a mess than we're cleaning up, but I tell you, we are cleaning up quite a bit in those first passes. So we'll try to get out there and make multiple passes as we can. So also been out trying to get some potholing done through this nice weather as well. So just trying to get what we can done in the roadways, the right-of-ways, and some of our other areas that we'd like to start working is just a little bit too soggy to really start doing anything because we're going to tear everything up. So waiting for that frost to get fully out of the ground and dry up a little bit before we get too far. So just filling rolls like that. Unfortunately, we've had a handful of water main breaks too that we've had to work with the water department getting those handled. So nothing too crazy there, but they are definitely not the funnest things to do. So, but yeah, just working along. Any questions for me?
Pretty standard or status quo water main break wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you get these thaws like this time of year, it actually kind of pushes the frost a little bit deeper and kind of moves some of that infrastructure. So I think when we saw a little bit of that fluctuation, we kind of hit some. We hit like 4 like in a 2-week period or something, so it was kind of weird. But total numbers for the year, I don't think it's really out of line. So nothing. They just come in spurts. So.
All right.
All right,
Council, anything? All right, thanks, Jeremy. Director of Finance and Administrative Services report, Jacob. All right, he had his highlights.
City engineer.
Oh, sorry, City Engineer, Matt Stedding.
Why don't you get clear Jacob out of the way?
I gotta
nicely?
stop crossing things off of there.
He always skips me.
Sorry.
Just a couple things to highlight. So working forward on the 7th Avenue realignment, the Oaks Hotel project. So we're getting line work placed on exhibits, and we're starting to set limits for right-of-way vacations. Those are going to come forward to planning and zoning at the end of this month for approval. So that's in full motion. And then also look for at the next council meeting, we will be bringing forward and setting a bid date for the Highland Drive road surfacing project, so we're going to get that date set. And I did go out there last week after we had some melting and check the roadway. We added a few portions of the roadway to do some full depth patching too, just because it was in rougher shape than what we like to see. So I just want to do it right. It'll be a little bit of an additional cost, but while we're doing it, I want to do it the right way. So that's what I got for now. You guys have any questions?
No? All right, thanks, Matt, sorry. Jacob. All right. Mayor's report, Chad Schreck, North Iowa Corridor.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Appreciate the time, and congratulations, Councilwoman Teaser. It's awesome to have you up there. Just real quick, piggybacking off of the community project funding deal, I'm excited to see the community move forward on that. I think it's a good process, and it's very helpful for us. As Steve noted, we did get notice that our application with the county for housing efforts did get awarded. So that will be $3 million flowing through the county. We'll be managing and administering that with the Housing Corporation. Still waiting on the details. It's a HUD, Housing Urban Development Program, so part of this deal is there are federal strings attached. So there's still some of those requirements we have to live up to. But we're waiting to get notice on all of those, and we'll have some initial project meetings with the team over there to make sure we can all the different things that we can do. So the way that we had drafted that up, we could do property acquisition, rehabilitation, new construction, anything essentially housing related across the county. So one of the things that we'll want to do with our housing committee and kind of Clear Lake Task Force is identify the best opportunities that we think there might be, so that we're prepared when that money does come our way, that we can act on it quickly. So if there's properties that you might have in mind, if there's potential projects that you think would be things that we should be focusing on, start thinking of those now. We'll try to be getting a list together, and hopefully here over the next couple of months, as these things get come our way, we can start acting on those sooner than later and make some real headway on that. So excited to get those funds activated, and see how we can leverage those as best as possible. If you look at new construction, that's probably a tougher sell. I mean, $3 million sounds like a lot, but if you're lucky to spend $250,000 a unit, that'd be 12 units across the whole county, right? So we're trying to figure out the most impactful way to use that, and we'll try to put all of our heads together and make sure we do that wisely. So we'll definitely appreciate your guys' input and assistance on that process. And then for the current application, you know, they do like to see letters of support and different things, so we'll be working with Steve and the team on getting some businesses involved and engaged in that. That'll be supportive and just show the community impact side of that as well. So I think Ashley Henson's team does a really good job on communicating with us. They do only give you 2 weeks, but they do a really nice job of being responsive through that whole process. I think we had actually applied 2 years ago for this fund that we just got awarded. The reason that got held up, they didn't do any of these projects last year because of some of the different funding stuff. So like Steve said, you never know. Hopefully we don't have any hang-ups like that, and this goes through. 2 years ago in that initial process, Mason City got awarded. We had worked on some stuff in the industrial park. So again, their team has really been supportive of our asks in the past. So I think we'll have good opportunity on that. Then down in the State House, just a few things that we're watching legislatively. This is funnel week for all those that pay attention, for better or worse. But there are some things on TIF that we continue to watch closely. There was a subcommittee on a bill today that would pull the school portion of TIF completely out of it. There was a mechanism within that then you could go to the school and ask them to write a check back to the city's TIF fund to fill that. I don't know that I'd like to have that fight. I don't know about you guys, but there's some interesting things going on. It doesn't sound like that's going to get much traction, fortunately, but if it did, that of course would really be a huge hit to TIF. So we're trying to protect those things, make sure that we don't lose local control, local tools. As you guys know, that's really locally the only incentive option that we've got. So just want to make sure that any changes they make to it, again, don't kneecap us basically on our ability to attract projects. And you guys know, I can't remember, I think we did the TIF thing, but again, McKesson project, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did to make that happen with some of the things that they're talking about right now. So again, we'll try to make sure that we make you guys aware if there's things that we need to activate on and make sure we're hitting the legislators up on. But right now, those are some of the things that we're watching. So anything else you have for me? I'm happy to answer questions.
Council, anything? No? All right, thanks, Chad. City administrators report. Steve.
Yes, so update on the watershed coordinator position. So we are at that point where I'm pretty excited, and we're happy to announce that we've hired Adam Sears to be our watershed coordinator. He is currently the Floyd County Conservation Director. Has been in that position for the past 11 years or so. He's done a fine job, and so when he was one of the 3 total that we interviewed, and we were very impressed with his interview, his resume, and all that good stuff. And so he's made it through the process, and he's going to be starting with us on March 2nd. So we're working on putting a plan together to get him onboarded and get him in front of everybody. And I think the association has a meeting that Thursday, so it works out well. So yeah, we'll be welcoming Adam on board, so that'd be great. Iowa State Extension Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustment training. So as we've been filling all our planning and zoning and our Board of Adjustments, one of the things that we look to do here is reach out to Iowa State Extension, because they've always had a very nice training for people on Board of Adjustments, people on planning and zoning. And so asked Jennifer to reach out on that, and come to find out they're coming to Ventura April 16th for a training. So hopefully we'll get a number of our new people, maybe some of the existing members to go over and take part of that. If any council members are interested in that, please let Jennifer or I know. We could sign you up for that. It's always interesting stuff when you get into planning and zoning and board of adjustments. So, that'll be happening here in the near future. As I mentioned briefly before, we're working on that build grant for the 4th Avenue project. So we're trying to gather our letters of support on that. That is due next week as well. Working with Becky at SEH on getting that application in, and so that's coming together nicely. CAT grant, so we've made an initial CAT grant proposal to the county asking for some funding to help offset some of the costs going to be associated with that 7th Avenue infrastructure project, as well as some additional amenities down there with what we're calling the dueling guitar project. And so that's submitted to the county for their consideration for funding. They're working through their budget process right now. We hope to find out hopefully in the next week or so where they're coming back on that, so we know how that application will be moving forward. But assuming that we get support from the county and we look to move forward, we'll be looking at working with Ron Fiskus again, probably to help us write that grant and put that in. So that should be coming down the line here soon. And last thing I want to mention is you may have noticed the swinging doors are gone. So for ease and accessibility, you can get up here without too much trouble. We'll just have to fend off the hordes from chasing us too much, I guess. So, but otherwise, that's all for me.
All right, thanks, Steve. Council, anything else? Meeting adjourned.